Hey guys, so I know this isn't my normal how-to video, but I'm wandering around right now in Europe, and one of my favorite things to do when I'm traveling is find local gardens. I think it's really important to see how people all over the world grow and borrow some ideas, just admire the beautiful things that they put in place, especially in cities. So I wanted to show you around one of my favorite, if not my favorite, garden in Berlin. And I hope you enjoy. Okay. Now, one of the questions I get asked the most probably is, how do I trellis my tomatoes? And there's lots of different ways, but I love the way that they do it here. When you live in a space with a short season, as you do in Berlin, you really want a more enclosed space that if you're dealing with a lot of rain or a lot of cold and wind, like building an enclosed space for your tomatoes is really fantastic. I think it's just a great idea. What they have here is kind of like it's not quite a greenhouse, but it's definitely like an arbor that's covered in plastic. And then they just run, as you can see, these beams across the side that they're then running these wires across between beams. And then you see these cords, and what they have is the tomato wrapping around the cord all the way up, and they're able to grow maybe 100 tomatoes here all around me in like a 20 square foot space, or no, it's more than that, it's like 200 square feet. But it's wild, and they're all in these bags. So if you have access to grain bags or potato or coffee bags, like I definitely encourage you to make the most of your space, even if you can only build a really small sort of overhang on a porch or something. Like, this is just a great way to trellis your tomatoes. See, and then they just kind of twist up that main stem all the way up, and that way these tomatoes are getting enough light, enough airflow. The fruit is setting really nicely. We'll look around a little bit more. I really love how they carry on with this whole trellising idea with the squash, just like they had with the tomatoes. We have a framework going here. So there's a frame that's kind of screwed into these milk crates. The milk crates are nice because they keep the garden really modular, so you're able to pull out plants if they're not doing well or move things around as you need to. This garden can always evolve and always change and always grow. And it's the same idea here, where you have this top bar, just like a piece of rope or wire running across between the framework, and then basically pulling a piece of cord down to each plant so that as the plant grows and as it vines up, it has some place to go. This helps create a lot better light and airflow access for something in a small space like this. If you live in the city and you're trying to grow something like squash, it's almost impossible if you grow it just in a planter on the ground. But once you start going vertically, they have probably 3 to 6 dozen plants, if not more, at least a dozen on each row right here, where you're able to fit so much more in there, and they're so much happier and healthier. So I love that idea. I just love the vertical trellising in every direction with really accessible, really inexpensive materials. And again here with the beans. So you can see, these look like probably some sort of scarlet runner bean, and we have a much higher frame that they're being tied to. But it's the same concept, you guys. It's running a piece of cord from the edge of this milk crate, just tying it around the edge there. I love this milk crate growing in a city space because you have access to tons of them from, restaurants and produce supply. Like, they're not expensive to get your hands on, and they're very easy, very modular pieces of the garden to move around. And then you have these cords that just run up, and with beans, because they'll climb as high as you'll let them, like, why not build a taller trellis? Why not have a jungle of beans wherever you live? You can see over here there's some of these broad beans are just finishing up. There's a regular long bean, but then there's also a broad bean here. So yeah, use the space that you have. There's so much that they're fitting in to such a small area, and it creates this jungle. It's just an urban jungle. It's fantastic. I love it. Every garden needs a swing, right? This is probably my favorite part, though, of the garden here. And it's that you can get food. So, I'm having this delicious garden fresh pizza. It's so good. And they have a beer garden, too. So, everyone basically just comes here after work, hangs out, grabs a beer, grabs a pizza, and just kicks it for a minute. So, yeah. Thanks for joining me on this adventure, guys, and maybe we'll find someplace fun in Italy to hang out. Okay, till next time. Cheers.